The price of victory. The war had ended not with thunder, but with silence. Commander Thorn Blackwood stood among the smoking ruins of the Kryvax Empire's last stronghold, his dark eyes scanning the destruction around him. The air tasted of ozone and defeat, a bitter combination that had become all too familiar over the past 5 years of conflict. The Kryvax, with their obsession for collection and control, had finally fallen. Their vast empire of stolen technologies and enslaved species had crumbled under humanity's relentless push for freedom. But victory always came with a price, and Thorn was about to discover exactly what that meant. "Commander Blackwood," a gravelly voice called out. Marshal Drecker, the Kryvax commander, approached with his ceremonial guard. Their crystalline armor, once pristine and gleaming, now bore the scars of battle. But it wasn't the defeated alien warriors that caught Thorn's attention. It was what they dragged behind them. A figure stumbled forward, bound in chains that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Her skin was like polished obsidian with veins of luminescent purple running beneath the surface. She moved with a grace that even captivity couldn't diminish, and when she lifted her head, Thorn found himself staring into eyes that held galaxies. "A gift," Drecker announced, his mandibles clicking with what might have been amusement. "For the victor. She is the last of the Lumini, a race we acquired some cycles ago. Their ability to manipulate energy made them valuable tools." Thorn's jaw clenched. The Kryvax's casual cruelty never ceased to disgust him. "I don't accept slaves," he said, his voice carrying across the battlefield. Shattered trust. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the stellar horizon, but Naira wasn't watching them. Her obsidian hands moved with precise efficiency over the ship's damaged navigation console, purple energy dancing between her fingers as she worked. 3 weeks had passed since Commander Blackwood had freed her from the Kryvax, and she still couldn't understand why. Thorn watched from the doorway, noting how she no longer flinched at unexpected sounds. The constant trembling in her hands had steadied, though the wariness in her galaxy-like eyes remained. She had proven herself useful, perhaps too useful. Her ability to interface directly with the ship's systems through her energy manipulation had saved them more than once during their journey. "The primary guidance system is restored," she announced without turning. "Though I don't understand why you insist on using such primitive technology." "Primitive works," Thorn replied, entering the bridge. "Primitive can't be hacked or controlled remotely. The Kryvax learned that the hard way." Naira's hands stilled. "Yes, they did." The silence that followed felt heavy with unspoken words. Thorn had learned to read these silences, to understand what they meant. This one carried pain. "You don't have to work on the ship," he said quietly. "You're not a prisoner here." Finally, she turned to face him. The luminescent veins beneath her skin pulsed slightly faster. "Then what am I, Commander Blackwood?" It was a question he'd been asking himself since the moment he'd broken her chains. "A passenger. A guest. Whatever you want to be." Her laugh was sharp, brittle. "Want? I haven't known what I wanted since the Kryvax destroyed my world. They took everything. My people, my future, my choice. And now you stand there offering me freedom, as if it's simple, as if I remember how to be free." Thorn stepped closer, careful to maintain enough distance that she wouldn't feel trapped. "Freedom isn't simple. Sometimes it's the hardest thing in the universe. But it's yours, Naira. No conditions, no expectations." She studied him with those impossible eyes. "You're a strange human, Commander. Your kind fought the Kryvax for 5 years, lost countless lives, and yet here you are, showing kindness to an alien who could kill you with a thought. Could you?" he asked, genuinely curious. Naira's expression softened slightly. "Yes, the energy that flows through your ship flows through all living things. One touch, one disruption in the pattern." She lifted her hand, purple light dancing between her fingers. "But you knew that, didn't you? You knew from the moment you freed me." Thorn nodded. "I did." "Then why?" Because everyone deserves a choice, even if they've forgotten how to make them. Starlight Reflections. The attack came without warning. One moment, the stellar horizon was cruising through deep space. The next, proximity alarms screamed as 3 Kryvax pursuit vessels dropped out of hyperspace around them. They found us. Nyara breathed, her hands already moving across the console. Purple energy surged through the ship's systems, reinforcing shields just as the first volley of plasma torpedoes struck. Thorn threw himself into the pilot's seat, yanking the controls hard to port. "I thought you said they couldn't track us." "They shouldn't be able to." Her voice was tight with concentration. "Unless... No, they wouldn't." Another hit rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across every console. Thorn fought to keep them stable as he asked, "Wouldn't what?" Nyara's luminescent veins flared brighter with emotion. "The collar they kept me in. It wasn't just for control. It was connected to their network, their hive mind. I thought when you destroyed it, they had a backup," Thorn finished grimly. "They let us think we were free while they followed our energy signature." The ship shuddered under another barrage. Shields were failing, engines straining. They were outgunned and surrounded. Thorn saw only one way out, but it would mean trusting Nyara completely. "Can you interface directly with the ship's core?" he asked, executing another evasive maneuver. Her eyes widened. "Yes, but the amount of energy required, it could kill me." "I'm not asking you to." "You're not asking anything," she interrupted. "I'm choosing. For the first time in years, I'm choosing." Before Thorn could respond, Nyara pressed her hands flat against the console. Purple energy exploded from her form, racing through the ship's systems like lightning. The stellar horizon's engines roared with power they were never designed to contain. Warning klaxons blared as systems redlined. "Hold on," Nyara commanded, her voice resonating with power. The ship lurched forward, faster than any human vessel should be capable of moving. Space itself seemed to bend around them as Nyara channeled her people's energy manipulation abilities through the ship's systems. The pursuing Kryvax vessels fell behind, their shots going wide. Breaking chains. The medical bay of the stellar horizon hummed with energy as Nyara's unconscious form floated in the recovery chamber. Purple light pulsed weakly through her obsidian skin, each beat a reminder that she was still fighting. Thorn hadn't left her side since their desperate escape 3 days ago. "Her energy patterns are stabilizing," Dr. Revan reported, studying the holographic readouts. The ship's medical officer had never treated Illumini before, but she'd adapted quickly. Whatever she did to interface with the ship's systems nearly burned her out completely. "I've never seen anything like it." Thorn watched the gentle rise and fall of Mara's chest. "Will she recover?" "She's strong," Revan replied. "Stronger than she should be after what the Kryvax did to her." "But, Commander," she hesitated. The scans revealed something else. The neural scarring from that control collar, it goes deeper than we thought. They didn't just enslave her body. They tried to rewrite her mind. Anger flared in Thorn's chest, hot and familiar. "But they failed." "Did they?" Revan pulled up another scan. "Her resistance to their conditioning is remarkable, but there are still active neural pathways they created. In theory, if they got close enough, they could reactivate them." The implications hit Thorn like a physical blow. "That's why they're still hunting us. They don't just want her back. They want to use her as a weapon." A weak voice interrupted them. "They already did." Thorn turned to find Nyara's eyes open, galaxies swirling in their depths. She looked fragile in the recovery chamber, but her voice was steady. "The Kryvax didn't just destroy my world," she continued. "They forced me to help them destroy others. My ability to manipulate energy. They used it to disable planetary defenses, to overload power grids. Every time I resisted, the collar would." She shuddered. "But you broke that chain, Thorn. You gave me a choice." Beyond the stars, the bridge of the stellar horizon was silent except for the soft hum of instruments. Thorn stood at the viewport, watching as the massive form of the Krivax command carrier grew larger. Behind him, Nyara's hands danced over the console, purple energy flowing between her and the ship's systems, not forcing, not controlling, but working in harmony. "The carrier's shields are adapting to our weapons," she reported, "but they haven't detected the modifications we made. They're still trying to access the old control pathways." Thorn nodded grimly. They had spent weeks preparing for this moment, turning the Krivax's own technology against them. The neural pathways they had forced into Nyara's mind now led to a trap. "All ships in position," Lieutenant Voss announced from Tactical. The remainder of Thorn's fleet had rallied to their cause, understanding that this wasn't just about one freed slave. It was about breaking the Krivax's power forever. "Ready?" Thorn asked, turning to Nyara. She met his gaze, and he saw no fear in those stellar eyes. "I was ready the moment you broke my chains." Her voice softened, "though I never expected to find something worth fighting for beyond my freedom." Understanding passed between them, unspoken but real. Whatever happened next, they would face it together, not as savior and saved, but as equals who had chosen each other. "Begin transmission," Thorn ordered. Nyara closed her eyes, connecting to the ship's communications array. The Krivax had expected to find the broken slave they had lost. Instead, they found their worst nightmare, a Lumini in full control of her power, backed by the full might of a human battle fleet. Purple energy cascaded through the ship as Nyara activated their trap. The signal she broadcast wasn't the submission they expected, but a virus that targeted their neural control network. Across the carrier, thousands of enslaved beings felt their control collars deactivate. Chaos erupted on the massive ship as former slaves turned on their masters. The Krivax's carefully maintained order collapsed into revolution. Thorn's fleet moved in, targeting weapons and engines, careful to avoid sections where freed slaves were fighting for their liberty. "They're trying to activate their self-destruct," Nyara reported, her voice strained but triumphant. "They would rather die than lose control." "Not today," Thorn growled. "Lieutenant Voss, all ships concentrate fire on their power core. Let's give them something else to worry about." The battle that followed would be remembered in history as the day the last vestiges of the Krivax Empire truly fell. But for Thorn and Nyara, it was something more personal. The day they proved that love could flourish in the most unexpected places, that trust could overcome the deepest wounds, and that sometimes the greatest victories come not from destroying your enemies, but from healing what they tried to break.